I've got a massive Easter egg, okay? But inside it, it is empty, apart from some cloth. You see, in Luke's account of Jesus' life, of what happened at Easter, we're told that the tomb is empty. The tomb that Jesus was laid in is empty, apart from this cloth that he was wrapped in that was left behind. And there were two angels at the tomb, and they told some of Jesus' followers, Jesus is not here. He has risen from death. Jesus really was alive. Next thing I have, I've got some googly eyes. See those? Some googly eyes, because the disciples, they saw Jesus after he's risen from death. Jesus was among them, and he said, look at my hands and my feet. He showed them the marks from where he was nailed to the cross. They watched him eat with them. Jesus really was alive. The next thing I've got, the Beaumonts also had it, I've got my Bible. See, when Jesus appeared to the disciples after he'd risen from death, they were so surprised to see him. You probably would have been as well. I wonder, what is the biggest and best surprise you've ever had? I would say a lot of you are thinking of a birthday present that you've had once upon a time. A new bike or a ticket to go to somewhere that you really, really love. It would be a huge surprise on your birthday, but I bet that all of you will have mentioned that thing to your parents many, many, many times before. I bet that you've spoken about that amazing surprise so many times before, how amazing it would be, how much you would love it. You see, it's a surprise on your birthday, but it really shouldn't have been, because you've spoken about it so many times before. It's the same with the disciples. Jesus had told them so many times before, I will die and I will rise from death. But it was still a huge surprise to them when he actually did it. I will die and I will rise from death. He told them many, many, many times. And that is the biggest and best surprise ever. You see, Jesus said it when he was alive with them. But even in the Bible, before Jesus was even born, there's so much written that says that God would send his hero to the world to rescue people. Let's read what Jesus says to his disciple in Luke's Gospel. He said to them, remember when I was with you before. I said that everything written about me must happen. Everything in the law of Moses, the books of the prophets, and the Psalms. That's all the stuff that's written about Jesus before he was born. And then Luke goes on. He says, then Jesus opened their minds so they could understand the scriptures. He said to them, it is written that the Christ would be killed and rise from death on the third day. You saw these things happen. You are witnesses. You must tell people to change their hearts and lives. If they do this, their sins will be forgiven. The Bible is so important in the Easter story because it tells us, like it told the disciples, Jesus is God's Saviour. He died and rose from death to forgive people of their sins. The Bible is one story of God's one plan about his one hero, the risen Jesus. And he really is alive. So Easter Day is such a special day. Jesus rising from the dead is the best surprise, the most wonderful thing that we can celebrate. Let me remind you again of the three things that I had. I had my tomb empty, other than the cloth that Jesus was wrapped in. Jesus rose from the dead. He crushed death, the punishment for sin. Next, my googly eyes, people saw the risen Jesus, and he said to them, tell everyone that they can be forgiven of their sins because I died and I rose again. Then lastly, our Bibles tell us all about Jesus and all that it means. And it's an amazing part of God's rescue plan for the world to rescue people from their sins so that we could be friends with God forever.